Welcome everyone to our cable railing install video. If you're new here, we've been building our front entry deck DIY style while working through inspections. It hasn't all been easy, but we're excited to finally move forward with this modern cable railing system.
Hey guys, so we're excited to introduce the sponsor for this video, Muzata Cable Railing System.
And they gave us the choice of a stainless steel color or a black, and we went with the black cable railing system because we think it'll match our aesthetic really nicely.
That's right. I mean, the stainless steel is really nice too. We've seen it on a lot of builds and a lot of places around us. However, we hadn't seen the black before. We think it's going to look really good, and it might be invisible from a distance.
I think it's going to look really modern. And in addition to the consumables that they sent us, like the cable railing and the plugs and all the things that you actually have on the deck, they also sent us the tools for installation. Now, we haven't used these yet, but I think this is some sort of crimpy thing.
That's got to be a crimper.
And this is kind of snippy thing.
Cable cutter.
And then what which is really nice, is a drilling guide. So this has a 90-degree angle, a 45, and a 30-degree, and it looks nice and beefy and hardy. It's like metal.
It should be really good. I could use in other places too. The 30 degrees is going to be really close to what we have over there of 32.57. So hopefully it's going to be close enough. We'll find out. Oh, couple things. They sent us this in full disclosure. They sent us all these items in exchange of us doing a video for them of this install. And hopefully what they already knew, but what we knew, we were already going to do a video about installing a railing system either way.
Yeah, well, we have to have a railing system.
Right.
We were debating between if we wanted to do a kind of a nice modern patterned wooden railing, or if we wanted to do the other option was the wire railing. And I think this is going to match with our modern aesthetic really, really nicely.
I think so. So guys, we're going to bring you the good and the bad as we install. So far, we've heard mostly good about installing this kind of system. So we're looking forward to it. Let's get going.
All right.
So first things first, we need to finish up the trim on our posts for our railings.
Right. They really came kind of ugly to start with.
Got some just raw 4x4s.
So we put Trex on the top to match our Trex decking. So it looked really nice.
And here's what it looked like before the install of the cable railing.
Well, and just like that, our handrails are done and moving on to the wire railing system.
Right. So we are ready to install the cable railing. That's exciting. And I've made a few jigs, so they'll make it a little bit easier for us. The first jig that I've made is just a simple template here. That's a 2x4 with precise holes every 3 inches. So I used our drill press to make these holes so that they're super precise. And the size is the exact size that we need for the end railings for that, where they hit the end post. We can also use a pencil and draw in there to get a circle for the inner ones, which should give us a really clear idea of where the inner one should go.
Because that's a different size drill bit. And we will be using this guide for those center posts.
Right. And this guide also has an angle, a 30-degree angle for our stairs. However, our stairs are actually at 33.5 degrees. So I made a different guide, different template here. Jig. I had a few tries. The circled ones are the correct ones. So this is at 33.5 degrees. I again used our drill press. I adjusted it to about 33.5 degrees-ish. And then I drilled these holes. I figured that will be a little bit better than doing the 30 degrees. It might look a little off that way. So this should work out really well. So the first thing we need to do is just go mark where we need to drill our center posts.
So here I am installing the jig that we'll use to mark all our holes for the center posts.
Right. I did try this first, and Anna fired me almost immediately. She did do a better job, though.
And there you can see the markings right there, clearly visible, and lining up the hole for the jig that we will use to actually drill the holes.
Right. And you can see it really easily there. So we line it up, clamp it on, and then drill the hole, which we found out almost immediately. While the bit that Muzata provides does really well with being precise, it's very hard to use.
And that you really do need a pilot hole first from a different, smaller drill bit.
Okay, hey, drilling update.
We decided to have another bit. So this bit is a spade type bit, and on the very, very front of it, like you're not really, this is just getting the wood out of the way. It's not actually progressing the bit forward.
The spiral threads themselves.
Right. Yeah. So we decided to go ahead and just get a regular drill bit that's smaller. We're using it in the smallest setting. This is a 3/16 inch bit. Fits in here perfectly.
And nice and firm too.
It's very nice. So we're going to use this to start our hole, and then we just use this to finish off the hole. So that way it's the right size. But this one was really struggling going through all our PT wood.
And it was pretty loose in that guide too.
It was pretty loose in the guide, and this way we have a precise, straight one to start with. Works really well. So that's what we're doing. I know Muzata sends this one, but what I would say is use a smaller 3/16 first, and then go to your 9/32. This one, then this one. Okay, so now we have that figured out. We went on to drilling all of the rest of the holes.
Yep. So we used this guide individually for each hole, and I used the smallest hole on the guide for our smaller drill bit. And I used the bit itself to line up the hole with the guide.
Right. And so this is going to be a compilation of Anna drilling here. So this just took, I mean, out of the entire install, this is probably what took the most amount of time.
Yeah. So we used the guide, used the smaller drill bit, and then here it is lining up again, and then went back with the larger drill bit that Muzata provided for the final hole size.
Right. And then you really have to clear out these holes. So me, I thought, well, use leaf blower.
Yeah, so we had to do various things. We used the leaf blower to blow them out. We used the wire itself.
Oh yeah.
We went back, I think, sometime and had to use the drill bit again to help pull out more material. It's really crucial to clear out that material so the wire passes through easily.
Right, because otherwise it will have a problem and then you're kind of stuck up the creek, especially after you put these in.
Yeah, and so I was only putting these on the one side. The instructions say to install them on the wire as you string it, but since I was going to install the wire this direction, it was okay installing them on that side.
Right, and I wouldn't do that on both sides just because it can actually keep the wire from going through. Just do on the side you're going to go through and then come back on the other side as you put them in, but don't forget to put them there.
And moving on to the end posts, this is where we could use our jig that we made, and this is a different size drill bit here.
Right, and so this saved us so much time. The Muzata one that's provided worked really well, but this just saves a ton of time. And note that I'm using blue tape on the drill bit there. That's because this is not going all the way through the post. It's a certain length that you want. Make sure to refer the instructions on how far you should go. I had to go a little bit deeper because we had that extra decorative board on the post. Okay, so with that, we have our first run finished for the cable railing. Everything's prepped, all the holes are made. So now we're going to go ahead and install that side, make sure we know what we're doing and that it's looking good, and then we can continue on with the rest of the deck. So far, this has been a pretty easy process. I'm really excited about this. Here we go.
So moving on to actually installing these wires for this wire railing system.
Right. So this was our first day doing this. So we're going to show you more about what we did on the second day. This was just us getting used to making sure we knew how to install these.
Yeah. And we really kind of hit a groove here. While I was doing one wire, Spencer was always a wire behind me. So that way mine was already installed and then he could pull to his side and he could measure an accurate measurement there.
Right. And then I'd install the previous one. And then by the time that was done, the next one was ready to be pulled and repeat that pattern.
And once we were finished, it was time to tighten everything. And you start with the very center one and then you go up, down, up, down, up, down with tightening.
Right. And then once you get to the very top and bottom, the middle ones will now be loose again and you have to tighten those. I do want to say this whole process of installing these wire railings and tightening took about an hour here. It really wasn't a very long process once we got to this part, and it was fairly easy. It did pull very taut, and it looks pretty good.
And we'll show you some close-up details on exactly how we did this installation in just a minute.
We also used a 2x4 here to knock in these grommets just because it was soft wood and it probably wouldn't hurt anything. And look at that, we're finished. So this shows an idea of what the wire railing looks like installed and before it's installed. Good morning, everyone. Today is day 2 of installing Muzata cable railings. So yesterday we got the first part installed. It went really smoothly. No hiccups at all, really. So today it should go even a little bit faster now we've kind of have it figured out. And the most of the time was actually I feel like, in drilling the holes and getting them cleaned out versus actually installing the railing. The wires went in pretty quickly. It took about an hour total. So today we're going to start with this part right behind me, and we'll do the rest of the deck after that. It should be a good day. It's sunny. It's bright. It's going to be really nice and warm. So let's get going. Okay, so now that we're on day 2, we wanted to show you more about what we're doing. So what I do here is I'm stripping the cable first to be able to install everything around it.
And those cable strippers did not come with the kit. We already had those, and this was also not in the instructions.
Right, this is just what we assumed you should do, because this way everything fits over it.
Yeah, that coated wire would not fit into the parts otherwise.
So you put on the 2 pieces, make sure the tape is facing the right way, and then add on this hidden fastener. And then you add on this.
That's a little crimpy guy.
Little crimpy guy. So you add on the crimpy guy and then you crimp it. So this is the crimper that you have. You have to put it to the on position and crimp really tight.
Yeah, it's hydraulic powered. So it's doing a lot more work than just what you could do on your own.
Right. But it still does take a little bit of strength to do it. And that's what it looks like at the end once it's actually crimped, and it holds really, really well.
Back to installing the wires again.
Right, so this is the first run, and you can see here that Anna is installing this while the first one I've got nothing to do.
Yeah, so here's a tight shot of actually how this tool works to install the piece itself.
Right, so it continues to go in the hole with it, which is what helps it be a hidden fastener, and that's where, what is that called?
It's a washer.
The washer goes over it.
With the sticker facing the correct direction. That's important.
Right, and so now I have the second one, we're just pushing them through, and it kind of shows where this would be hard if those grommets were on both sides ahead at the time. So now I'm doing mine while she does hers, and you can see it's kind of going back and forth, and just a drone shot for the fun of it.
Yeah, production value.
So there's more crimping. And guys, I did try to kind of cut this shorter so it's not so long of seeing us doing everything. But I did want to give you an idea of what it's like to actually install these.
Yeah, and it was easier to crimp the piece with two people, one person holding the wire, the other person crimping.
Right. It wasn't impossible to do it on my own. Like I definitely did it a few times, but it was way easier having Anna help hold it.
What's really neat is that the provided socket wrench kind of swivels around the wire itself. So as you're twisting in the cable tensioner, that like metal piece right there, that it swivels around and doesn't twist the wire along with it.
Right. And if you are doing a decorative piece like we have here, a decorative piece of wood, be sure that your threads get into your actual post and not just a decorative part.
Yeah, because that would just rip that right out.
How's the install been so far?
Okay, so that's two sides of our wire railing. Couple of things that we've learned is that you really can put that metal threaded piece and the little crimpy bit right close to the ends, just so you just have just the right distance here. And we also learned that if you have accidentally made your wire just a little smidgen too long and you already have your crimpy guy at the end, then you can just unscrew the assembly, screw your hole a little bit deeper if you do have the space for it, and then reinsert it, and then that will give you just that little bit of wiggle room.
Okay, so now we have 2 of the wire railing runs installed, and it's looking really good.
And moving on to the last horizontal section.
Right, and we are having a good day, y'all. So it was still pretty early. We're feeling good. It's looking good.
We found a rhythm.
So we're just installing away. So some of this, we're just kind of joking around now, feeling good about it. I did want to point out here, the crimping, you really do crimp it like it's a crimp.
Yeah, you have to make faces while you make it.
And then we just continue on. I tried to cut out this so it's not too much. Got to show Anna when I'm gone. I don't know where I am. And then we just continue on installing down to the last bit.
And making sure everything is nice and tight again, all lined up perfectly.
Right. And here's us actually installing and tightening and everything.
So next up is installing the diagonals for the stairs, and that is the same, but definitely a little different.
So if that is there, right, I just want to make sure that when it goes down to here, then we're not going to have any issues. I think that's about as close as we can get it. Right. So by code, only a 6-inch ball can pass through here.
Or, you know, they don't want a 6-inch ball. They want
less than a 6-inch. So here is this, and right now, here, I'll pull it your way so you can see. So when I'm there, I'm about 5 1/4.
Yeah.
So that should be good. However, this is a wire and it can be flexed. So first off, these bottom and top ones especially, but this bottom one on the bottom and bottom, they're going to need to be very tight. So they're going to need to be very, very taut so that it doesn't have much flex.
So no sagging.
Right, because we want that ball to stop. Because I guarantee you if we get the wrong inspector, he's going to try to call us out on it. Worst case, it's not the end of the world. We just have to put like a 2x4 going across the bottom. So anyway, we're just got to make sure this stays really taut. So this was all just making sure that that lines up.
All right.
So now that we have that and we know that that's going to work, I can take that out and I can drill my holes.
Okay.
So let's try to drill. Let's see if this drill can even do
Oh, yeah,
this.
can you even do that angle?
Yep, I got it.
Is it, wait, is the
Whoa.
chuck is already hitting that spot?
Yeah, we're going to have to get an extender for that.
Do we have one of those?
Yeah. Okay, so I did want to show a little bit about this drilling again because this is an angle and it's different. You can see here I did get one extension that I'm using here, and now here's a second extension combined with the first. I'm going a little bit deeper than I did on the previous ones. You can see the blue tape that was my stop, and I'm going past that. And that's because it was at an angle, and when you're going at an angle, you're actually going further. Like it's a further distance you have to go when going through the wood.
Yeah, but still using this diagonal template, not the same one from before.
Right.
But a new one.
This is a different template. This is one I had originally that had way too many holes.
Yeah.
And making sure not to use the wrong hole. Now, this is important too. This, when you go from the template from the top to the bottom, you don't turn it around. You want to make sure you're drilling at a downward diagonal angle on the bottom one. Just really important. Super easy to make that mistake. You're not paying attention.
It's just focus and make sure you put it in the right direction.
Right. I mean, luckily, it makes it sound like we did that. We didn't have that happen.
No.
But
You were perfect.
it was important to point out. So once you go from there, the actually installing the cables goes about the same way, except for we did run into this issue here where you see I'm trying to use pliers to tighten this because what are those things called?
It's a wrench. I don't know.
Okay, they wrench. It's basically too big.
It's called a socket wrench.
The socket wrench, the wings of it are too big to turn at the angle. So I cut it down to this tiny version.
The tiny version was perfect. A little bit more difficult because you didn't have as much leverage. While Spencer's installing that bottom one, I'm starting to tension the other wires. Oh, and here's our inspector. She's coming to inspect everything.
Yeah. I don't know if she's impressed or not, but it was cat-proof. She's now using the stairs instead of their normal
Just
stuff.
hopping off the side, so it's working.
Oh, another thing to say about that socket wrench, when you cut it down, you're going to have really sharp burrs there. So just make sure that you grind off those burrs before using it so you don't cut yourself up.
Use gloves. Gloves work too.
Or gloves, but it can still cut through there. So this is the other side. It went really, really well. And now Anna's painting it to make it look even better.
Yeah, just some touch-up paint.
All right, guys, with that, we are finished with the cable railings.
And that was surprisingly easy.
It really was. We took 2 days, but if we had started in the early morning, I think we would have finished by the late evening.
Yeah, and this is for a 10 by 10 deck with like stairs down about 6 steps down.
Right, but if you were doing like a bigger deck that just has more in-betweens, I don't think there would have been a big difference in time other than just drilling those holes through the middle post.
Yeah, the thing that takes the time is doing the anchors at either end. So I think if you just had a longer span, really wouldn't have been that much more other than, yeah, you're right. Drilling those holes did take some time.
A few things that were really good, like this thing, this crimper was fantastic. Without this, I mean, we definitely would not have been able to do this project.
Yeah, power of hydraulics.
So it was really, really good. A few other things, the bits it came with are good, but personally, this is a spade bit. If I was you, if you're buying this kit, I would probably pre-drill with a smaller drill bit first and then come back with this bit because this is a spade bit. It doesn't have anything to drive it forward, so it can be quite difficult to push it forward while you're drilling.
I will say it is good to use their provided bits because you know that is the exact size of the hole for all of their hardware. And like a standard bit kit that you'd purchase, we couldn't find one that matches this size.
This is 10.5 millimeters, whereas we usually work in like 16ths and 32nds. So just something to know, this is 10.5 millimeters, but I would go a little bit smaller of a bit to start with and then come back with that bit. Other things, this little guy. So this is a guy that crimps wires, that cuts the wires.
And this has a little bit, it's kind of like...
It's scissors, yeah.
Well, no, it's opposite of scissors.
Opposite.
So it's kind of like a claw from a crab or somebody.
Yeah.
And so it pinches and it holds on to the wire, whereas scissors, scissors, the wire goes through there and it like walks it out as you pinch. So these hold on to it. Those are really also nice that they provided those.
That was really good. Other thing we had to do, and you may have seen it on our diagonals. So this is a
mutilated this thing.
So this is a normal size one. Here, let's compare them to this one that I cut. So this one I used at the top and the bottom of the angled railings, or like this one.
These were just, everything was too long. We were just bumping into the edge.
Everything was bumping into everything. If you do this, first off, you'll have to have a tool to do that. I have a lighter for cutting metal. Those are pretty cheap though. But the main thing to know is that these are super sharp now. So be really, really careful. Be sure to take off as much burrs as you can, but just know it's sharp. But overall, okay, what do you think about the look?
Oh, I think it looks great.
I think it looks so good.
Yeah, especially the black coated wire. I think that looks really nice. It really disappears against the background. I think if you really wanted to highlight the wire and make it like a kind of a, I mean, we're going for modern, but I think even more modern would be that like silvery wire color.
I think that's debate on what's more modern.
Oh.
But yeah, if you wanted a silvery, it definitely shows it off. The black just makes it disappear. It's really, really nice. The tension is really good. I like the hidden fastener system where everything is hidden inside the post itself. So you don't see anything on the outside.
Some other systems that, you know, I've just seen around is that the wire goes all the way through the post and is on the other side and hidden with a nice decorative cap. But against the house, that might cause a problem because it's a very tight situation right there, and getting a tool in or a wrench to tighten that down.
Yeah.
So I like that this was all on the inside of the post rather than having anything run all the way through, like the end piece is running all the way through and having a cap on the end.
Right. We'll have to show you. The backside, like the inside of our diagonals, where you see it, it's just smooth. There's nothing coming through. So that's quite nice. So big thank you to Muzata for sending us these cable railings. Full disclosure, guys, they did send us this railings to use and to make this video and share with you. But honestly, I am very happy with the system. I really like the hidden fastener system that they have. It's probably somebody we would have gone with anyway. We also like that they designed everything for us. Like we just sent them our plans or our design, and they figured out all of the railings that we needed, like the cables, how many we needed. We just told them what code we were in, which is 2018 IRC code.
I will have to say that wire railing systems always seemed a bit intimidating to me because I was always worried about the high amount of tension that was going to be on the posts. But these seem to be not really pulling our posts in too hard. It's creating enough tension on the wire for the safety and it's not sagging, but it's not like really like tugging really hard.
Right. I mean, it is tugging enough. As you tighten others, the first ones get loose. So it is definitely pulling it together. But there is enough tension on there where I have no concern about somebody falling through it.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you, Muzata. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to more projects in the future. And guys, after this video, all we have left is the handrail and the deck skirt, and then this deck project is done.
Well, and also, I don't think you've seen these stairs yet.
Right. So we'll be sharing that as well. But guys, we are excited to have this deck build almost finished. The entry is already much safer than it was before, than the one we had originally. And it seems to be a really good solution. People are liking it already. It's a nice wide entry. So I'm pretty happy with it. And it has kind of a modern feel.
Yep.
Anyway, look forward to the next one. We're making Sapili handrails. Just wait for it. That's bougie. It's fancy, guys.
Fancy.
We are fancy.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.